Hey guys, what is up? Fly here. Welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we have some new news from War Thunder News URL 4365 development TU14T. What the fuck is this thing? Now, I remember reading about this maybe about a year and a half ago when War Thunder, I believe, had its old roadmap up of all the things they wanted to add to planes back in the day. And this was one of them. I don't know if the T variant was the version, but this is obviously the TU14T, the fastest torpedo bomber in the game. It seems like the Russians are getting some torpedo bombers. Because I believe the only torpedo bomber that the Russians have is the IL-4. And for some reason, the devblog video, the title is the fastest torpedo bomber, but they show it dropping like a, 5,000 kilogram vodka bottle. I don't know. Hey, it's War Thunder News, whatever. So what is the TU14T? Well, to sum it up very quickly, it is a worse IL-28, but not by that much. The TU14, at least the TU14 standard model, has two 23 millimeters in the front and two 23 millimeters NR23 cannons in the back. Same bomb load as the IL-28 with, I believe, 50 kilometers less top speed. So in total, a really, really good jet bomber with the ability to defend itself. For some reason, in my experience, the 23 millimeters suck. Like if you're like if you're like using, sorry about that guys, like a MiG-9 late or like a MiG-15 bis, those 20 or a Yak-30, those 23 millimeters won't bring home the gravy. But for some fucking reason, the back gunners of the 23 millimeters are insane. Maybe because it hits the cockpit and there's so much, modeling going on. I don't know. But I'm sure some people will testify that the back gunners of the 23 millimeters are fucking amazing. So with the announcement of the TU14T, the community seems kind of mixed about it, and I don't blame them. On the pros, it's I believe the second Russian torp bomber in the game, so that's going to be necessary, I guess, for naval forces or whatever they're going to do with that. But on the contrary, people are pissed off because it's another jet bomber that has the capabilities of slaying top tier fighters such as the Hunter or the MiG-17 for arcade or the F-2 Sabre. Players who go into top tier jet battles with a top tier fighter have a mindset of eradicating everything in that match and mainly focusing on the other top tier fighters to win the game. And when a bomber has the ability to be offensive, defensive, and potentially win the game by bombing points or ground targets, it kind of gets people's blood boiling, and I can see why. On the other hand, maybe it was due to the fact on how War Thunder brings us about our career in the game. For example, at low, medium, and even mid-high tier, bombers are kind of free food. And when you get into high tier, there's bombers there that are really, really good at defending themselves. But the real reason I think that everyone's really sour is that the subliminal cognitive pattern, by the way, that did not make any sense at all, but it sounds cool, doesn't it? Ha! The TU14 has TU and a 4 in it, and I believe that triggers PTSD for some of the players who have tried to kill the TU14 or TU4, excuse me. But if we look on the bright side of the TU14T being added, that means that for maybe 2 to 3 weeks, the TU4 will get out-spammed by this new jet bomber. And as we know, only 4 jet bombers can get into the game. And as we know, a squad of IL-28s or a 4-man squad can't end the game without going back to rearm. Another topic that I would like to touch on real quick is that I think War Thunder needs a better understanding of its community, how to read it, and then how to release information. This is just my opinion. But From 5 to 7 to, I don't know when the TU4 was added, the game changed drastically. I mean, seriously, the game changed. They had to change the core mechanics of how to join a match with the bomber to balance the TU4. And then they go right ahead and add this TU14T, which in essence is just a little bit slower version of the IL-28, which is going to do well in Air RB, Tank RB, and whatever naval forces is going to be like. And I'm not saying that the TU-14 shouldn't be added. It has a rightful place in War Thunder. What I'm trying to get at is that when War Thunder adds consistently good bombers for a nation and neglects other nations' bombers to even the simplest mechanic of putting a key to rotate a bomb bay door, that's for the B-57s and the Canberras, it really puts a sour taste in your mouth. And so my solution to this for the game developers or the people who release information on the dev blog or into the game in the next patch is to sit down and be like, okay, so we're gonna add this TU-14T. What can we add to the other nations to bring a yin and a yang or just harmony to the game? And War Thunder does do that, don't get me wrong, but it might take them an extra patch or two to fill a void that that nation didn't have. That's all I'm trying to get at. And before we go on to talk about the TU-14T via the devblog and how it might work in War Thunder, I need to clarify that these are devblog news stories and they come out bi-weekly or even weekly, so we could see, new additions that could balance things out, just to put that out there. Okay, the TU-14T. So from the devblog, there's actually some pretty cool information about the history of the TU-14. The TU-14 and IL-28 were pretty much competitors at the time, or at least in 1947. And the TU-14 used 3 engines. And I believe the 3rd engine was in the tail, but the engines that it used were British Rolls-Royce engines. And over time, the Russians, I guess, re-engineered the engines for the BK-1 that were based off the Rolls-Royce Nini. Hope I say that right. And so the 3rd engine wasn't needed, and then so that position was then taken up by the defensive 23 or dual 23 millimeter in the rear. So I'm going to try to pronounce the T variation of the TU-14, the TU-14T that we're receiving. In Russian, it is, I believe, pronounced hang on. Torpedenio Soyetes. Maybe. Let me know in the comments below. But in total, 147 of these vehicles were built in. I gotta say, from my personal taste, I think the TU-14 looks sexier than the IL-28. The IL-28 looks super derpy. This one still looks derpy, but just from this picture right here that I'll show you in the video, that thing looks badass as hell. So one of the last statements on the devblog has me kind of interested on how this is going to really work as a torpedo bomber. The devblog says the TU-14T's respectable speed allows it to make lightning fast torpedo strikes on groups of enemy naval vessels and also escape attacks from any fighters that are brave the rear twin turret. What I'm trying to get at is that from my experience in War Thunder, a lot of nations' torpedoes can't be dropped at lightning fast speeds, especially the British. Those have, I think it's 230 or 280 kilometers an hour. So what I'm trying to get at is how fast can this fucking torpedo be dropped? Because if a torpedo's dropped at, let's say 500, even 400 kilometers an hour, that thing is gonna skip on the water. Unless, because it's a jet torpedo bomber, the Russian engineers designed a torpedo that's able to be dropped at lightning speeds. We'll just have to wait and see how it unfolds. One last thought before we leave. Do you guys think, oh god, this is nuts, that War Thunder will be adding more advanced / effective bombers than the TU-4? For an example, the TU-16, the next Russian strategic bomber. And if we see the TU-16, we might see the British Vulcan. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Until next time, peace out.